Have you ever been disrespected so blatantly that your blood boiled, your fists clenched, and your mind raced with comebacks? Most people crumble under pressure. They either shut down completely or explode like toddlers throwing tantrums. But what if I told you the real power lies not in yelling back, but in saying nothing at all? There's a quiet strength in staying cold, calm, and calculated. When you master that, rude people end up exposing themselves. No effort from you needed. In fact, silence can cut deeper than any insult. Confidence makes cowards squirm. Dignity makes bullies look foolish. And in today's video, I'm going to show you 40 ways to protect your peace without ever lowering your standards or raising your voice. By the way, if you enjoy content that challenges your thinking, ideas rooted in stoicism, self-mastery, and the wisdom to navigate life with clarity and control, you'll love my free weekly newsletter. Every Sunday, I drop thought-provoking insights, bold truths, and actionable tools that help you rise above the noise. It's free, and it's powerful. Want in? Tap the link below and join the thousands leveling up with me every week. And if you're a brand looking to make a real impact with a highly engaged audience, my email's in the description. Let's build something meaningful together. Now, let's begin with Rule 1. Use a quote that hits like a velvet dagger. When someone is rude to you, your instincts scream for revenge. You want to clap back, to outwit them, to strip their ego bare with words sharper than knives. But the truth is, when you explode, you give them what they wanted, your control. Real victory? That comes when you stay calm and drop a line so graceful, so unexpected, that it echoes in their head for days. Let me take you back a few years. I worked on a corporate team with that guy. You know the type. Talks down to everyone. Smirks like he knows better. Interrupts just to prove a point. Let's call him Mark. In every meeting, he'd say things like, "That's not quite right," or, "Did you even read the brief?" Always loud enough for the boss to hear. For weeks, I ignored him, let it slide, until one day, while I was presenting a strategy, calm, composed, he smirked and muttered just loud enough. Well, that's one way to look at it, I guess. All eyes turned to me. I looked right at him and said, gently but clearly, "It's better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt." Then I turned back to my slides, as if he didn't exist. The silence that followed was deafening. He didn't say another word for the rest of the meeting, wouldn't even make eye contact. And just like that, the room's energy shifted. That's the power of a perfectly timed quote. It doesn't just shut someone down. It makes them rethink their entire approach. You see, rude people thrive on chaos. They want you to lose control, to match their fire. But when you respond with timeless words, something elegant, thoughtful, and sharp, you flip the script. It's not passive aggression, it's psychological precision. Here are a few quotes I carry like weapons in my arsenal. Ready for when the moment calls. Small minds talk about people. Use this when someone tries to drag you into gossip. Don't argue with fools. They'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. A classic, especially when someone's begging for drama. You can't compete where you don't compare. Perfect when envy is dressed up in sarcasm. Your opinion of me is none of my business. Cold, final, unshakable. Some speak because they have something to say. Others speak because they like the sound of their own voice. And my personal favorite, never wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, and the pig likes it. Brutal, honest, unforgettable. But remember, it's all in the delivery. How you say it matters just as much as what you say. A calm voice, steady tone, and a subtle smile will hit harder than any outburst ever could. Ready to go deeper? Let's move on to the next technique, something even more disarming than a quote, yet equally powerful. Building on the lesson about speaking calmly, now let's explore how to deliver your words in a way that's gentle yet sharp. Never say something in anger. Say it as if you're teaching a lesson, like you're trying to help the other person become a better version of themselves. Because when you remain calm and they're unsettled, everyone notices the contrast. Many people think quoting something wise is a sign of weakness. But those same people are often the ones who argue for 20 minutes and end up looking foolish. A well-timed quote isn't soft, it's powerful. It forces your opponent to face the truth. And truth cannot be refuted. Want to shut someone down without saying too much? Say just enough, but make sure it hits hard. Second, draw a line once and don't repeat yourself. Let me tell you something uncomfortable but true. Rude people already know they're being rude. They're not confused or just joking around. They're testing you, testing your self-respect, testing how far they can push you. The truth is, most people fail this test. They don't set a clear boundary. Or worse, they set it but erase it the moment someone crosses it. Let me break it down with a real experience I had a few years ago. I was in a friend group with a guy, let's call him Jake, who liked to be the center of attention. To do that, he would constantly take subtle shots at people in the group, especially me. Nothing brutal, just casual little digs, like, "Oh, look who finally showed up on time," or, "Hey man, do you even lift anymore?" Said with a smile, but designed to make you feel small. At first, I laughed it off, didn't want to be too sensitive. The second time, I brushed it off again. But by the third time, it felt less like a joke and more like a pattern. So I waited until it was just him and me. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "Listen, man, I'm not mad, but I don't joke like that. And I don't let people joke like that about me. If it happens again, you won't see me around." No yelling, no emotion, just calm finality. You know what happened? He blinked, paused, and said, "Oh, all right man, I didn't mean anything by it." And guess what? It never happened again. Why? Because I said it once with confidence and consequence. And that's the key. Most people keep giving warnings like customer service reps. "Hey, please stop that. Seriously, I'm not okay with that. I already told you before." Rude people love that. They don't respect your words because your actions don't back them up. You have to understand that every time you repeat a boundary, you teach people that it's flexible. Let's explore why saying something just once can completely change the dynamic. You teach them that if they ignore you long enough, they'll get away with it. But when you say it once, and truly mean it, the whole energy in the conversation shifts. They suddenly realize, wait, if I do this again, this person will walk away, stop responding, cut me off, and won't look back. That terrifies them because it means they can no longer manipulate you. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean you should go around cutting people off left and right indiscriminately. But if someone is repeatedly rude, condescending, or disrespectful, and they keep doing it after you've spoken up, they're not confused or accidental. They're comfortable with it, and you need to make them uncomfortable. Here's a mindset that changed everything for me. I don't set boundaries to control others. I set them to protect myself. And if someone crosses that line, they lose access, not after the 5th time, but after the very first. I've walked away from friends, colleagues, even relationships because of this. Because once you have to keep explaining your worth, it's already too late. You're not being difficult, you're being clear. And clarity makes manipulative people panic. So next time someone crosses the line, don't explain, don't argue, don't ask permission to be respected. Say it once, make it clear, and if they try again, show them what distance feels like. Third, accept that not everyone is emotionally mature. Let's be honest, rude people thrive on your reaction. They live for the moment your face changes, your voice sharpens, or your tone becomes defensive. They want you to get flustered because if they can control your emotions, they feel powerful. So the most effective thing you can do is not react the way they expect. Instead, respond with a line so calm, composed, and disarmingly brutal that it shuts everything down. It's okay. Not everyone is emotionally mature. 9 simple words, but they cut deeper than an insult because it's not a scream, it's a diagnosis. Let me tell you a story. Back when I worked in corporate, there was a guy in another department who loved interrupting people during meetings. He always had some sarcastic remark, especially when women or soft-spoken people were sharing ideas. One day, during a strategy call, a colleague of mine was presenting a new initiative. Mid-sentence, this guy cut her off and said, "Wow, that's a bold take. Are we trying to win awards for weirdest ideas now?" Everyone laughed awkwardly, but she looked hurt, and before anyone else could step in, I turned to him and said, "Hey, it's okay. I get it. Not everyone is emotionally mature enough to let other people speak." The room went silent. He chuckled as if he didn't care. But for the rest of the meeting, he didn't say another word. Here's what happened. He expected conflict. But instead, he was met with calm and clear composure. And he didn't know how to respond. That's the power of this line. It flips the dynamic. Instead of defending yourself, you become the one observing and assessing the situation. It's dominance through emotional detachment. Now, let me be honest with you. Some people will call this passive-aggressive. But it's not. It's intentional. You're not insulting anyone's intelligence, appearance, or status. You're simply making a factual observation. Not everyone is mature enough to have adult conversations. And if someone is rude, reactive, or disrespectful, you won't stoop to their level just to be heard. You will rise above and let them wrestle with their own immaturity. I used this exact line once in a personal relationship. It was with someone I was dating. We had a disagreement. Instead of talking it out, she started doing what some people do, using past mistakes as weapons. Things I had already apologized for. Things we had supposedly moved past. Or so I thought. I calmly said, "I'm here to work through this. But if your way of handling disagreement is emotional sabotage, that's okay. Not everyone is emotionally mature. But I won't entertain it." Do you know what she said? Nothing. Because the moment you hold up a mirror with neutral energy, people either rise to your level or crumble. And here's why this is so powerful. Most rude people are insecure. They act confident, but their behavior is just emotional immaturity in disguise. They never learned to set boundaries without aggression. They never learned to disagree without disrespect. They never learned to say, "I'm hurt," without turning it into a personal attack. So, when you calmly call it out, they don't know how to react. Here's the psychological secret. When someone acts emotionally immature and you remain emotionally composed, you win the interaction every time. And not just in that moment, people watching will remember. You become the grounded one. You become the one who controls the tone of the room. So next time someone throws passive aggression or sarcasm your way, don't argue. Don't roll your eyes. Don't even act surprised. Just nod gently, maybe even smile a little, and say, "It's okay." You see, calmness is not just a reaction, it's a strategy, an art, and most importantly, a silent power that commands respect and attention. Let's explore another powerful strategy, using short, sharp replies to diffuse insults and provocations. Not everyone is emotionally mature. When you realize this, knowing when to walk away is key. Because by walking away, your message echoes louder than any insult ever could. This is what true self-respect looks like. Point 4. Use short, sharp replies. If there's one thing that completely disarms rude people, it's brevity. They crave drama. They want you to talk endlessly, to get lost in emotional outbursts. They want you to over-explain because that gives them fuel to keep attacking. But when you respond with a brief, pointed answer, you starve them of the chaos they crave. Responses like, "Okay, noted, cool, sounds emotional, if you say so, sure, interesting." Some call this passive-aggressive, but it's not. it's energy efficient. Let me share a story that changed how I handled disrespect forever. Years ago, I had a so-called friend, using that word very loosely, who loved throwing jabs in group settings. Always with sarcastic, backhanded compliments. One day, I walked into a gathering, and he loudly said, "Oh, look, mister, I don't have time for anyone showed up. Must be a special day." Normally, I would have responded with something like, "Man, I've just been really busy. Didn't mean to ignore you guys. It's nothing personal." But not this time. I just looked at him, smiled lightly, and said, "Interesting." Then I walked across the room and joined another conversation. He was left standing there with a half smirk that slowly turned into confusion. Why? Because I didn't feed his game. He threw the bait, I didn't bite. I responded, but without giving him my energy. That's the power of short replies. They're sharp, surgical even, sending one clear message: I'm not playing your game. Here's another situation. A coworker once sent me a snarky email questioning my work ethic. With passive digs like, maybe if you actually took time to review the files, we wouldn't be stuck. Normally, I'd defend myself, explain timelines, point fingers back, but this time, I replied with 3 words. "Thanks for sharing. That's it. See what happened?" They wrote a mini essay trying to provoke me, and all they got was a textual shrug. They wanted to emotionally dance with me, but I didn't even step onto the floor. Rude people want attention, not resolution. They want to provoke, not communicate. Once you understand this, your replies become tools, not reactions. And here's another benefit of short replies. They give you control over the conversation's pace. They send a message. You don't get access to my emotions just because you're loud. So next time someone throws passive aggression or snide remarks your way, don't argue, don't glare, don't pretend to be surprised. Just nod gently, maybe smile, and say, "No worries." Are you ready to harness the power of brevity and calmness to render insults meaningless? Continuing from the power of short replies and staying calm in the face of provocation, let's explore another equally important aspect: the power of denying others emotional access to you. People really hate this. They hate being denied emotional access when they're trying to manipulate you. This is a sensitive topic because some people think short replies come off as cold. But let's be honest, when someone is rude, do they deserve warmth? We're not here to babysit bad behavior. We're here to protect our inner peace. You don't have to respond rudely. You don't have to argue or explain at length. Just reply minimally. "Cool. All right. Hope that works out. Take care." Okay then. That's enough. You're not obligated to bleed emotional energy just because someone else lacks self-control. This is what emotional discipline looks like. Choosing what deserves your full sentence and what only gets a word or 2. So next time someone throws shade your way, don't write an essay. Don't escalate. Don't engage. Just hit them with a short, sharp reply, and watch how the silence that follows does all the talking for you. Point 5. Walking away isn't weakness. It's a power move. Let me say it loud and clear. Walking away is not weakness. It's not cowardice. It's not losing an argument. It's mastery over your emotional state. In today's world, that's a superpower. Because the truth is, rude people want to trap you. They want to drag you into the mud. They want a scene. They want you yelling back. When you react emotionally, they're in control. Walking away destroys that control. Let me take you back to one of the first times I learned this lesson the hard way. I was at a dinner party. Things were fine at first, until a guy at the table, a self-proclaimed truth teller, started targeting me out of nowhere. He mocked how I spoke, undermined my opinions, all with that smug, condescending tone people like him wear like cologne. Old me would have clapped back, made the whole table uncomfortable, gotten into a war of words, and tried to win, but I didn't. I stood up, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "Hey, I didn't come here for this energy. I'm stepping out." Then I left calmly. No yelling, no drama, just a clear, confident exit. The next day, 2 people from that table messaged me, saying, "Honestly, you handled that like a king. You said more by walking away than any words could have." Because here's the truth. When you walk away, you change the narrative. You're no longer a participant. You're the observer who chooses peace over performance. Of course, some will call this running away. But those are the same people who stay stuck in toxic relationships for years just to prove they're strong. What do you think about choosing peace over meaningless fights? Have you ever tried walking away and felt that power yourself? Building on the idea of knowing when to let go, let's dive deeper into how you can hold on to your self-worth in tough situations. Let me ask you this. What is truly stronger, yelling back and wasting your mental energy on a pointless argument? Or knowing your self-worth so deeply that you don't need to prove anything to anyone? The answer seems obvious, doesn't it? Now, here comes the most controversial part. Sometimes, the only reason rude people escalate the conflict is because they know you'll stay. You'll argue, you'll try to fix it, you'll engage, but when you walk away, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable people are respected, sometimes even feared. You teach them an important lesson. Your presence is a privilege, not something they can treat like trash while still expecting access. I've walked away from friendships, family arguments, toxic clients, and disrespectful bosses. And every time, guess what happened? They either changed how they treated me, or they stayed the same, and I was no longer there to suffer it. You don't need to explain your exit. No need to warn them beforehand. No need to write a long message or post a dramatic quote on Instagram. Sometimes, the best move is just silence. Leave and let them wonder. People remember silence longer than noise. Walking away is an act of emotional wealth. It says, "I'm not desperate for your validation. I don't need to win you over. I value my peace more than proving a point." And that is powerful. Remember, not every battle is yours to fight. Not every insult deserves a reply. Not every rude person deserves a performance. Sometimes, the highest form of self-respect is not responding at all. So, next time you're disrespected, whether at the dinner table, in a group chat, or even in a relationship, ask yourself one question. Is this worth my energy? If the answer is no, get up, walk away, and don't look back, because walking away doesn't make you weak. It makes you unbothered, and that, my friend, terrifies those who feed on reaction. Step 6. Use humor to expose their foolishness. Want to really shut down a rude person? Don't argue. Don't raise your voice. Don't even defend yourself. Mock their stupidity with style. Humor is a weapon, not the "I'm trying to be liked" kind. I'm talking about smart sarcasm, strategic wit, and the ability to make someone look ridiculous without sounding angry. When someone is rude, what they're secretly hoping for is that you take them seriously. They want you to feel hurt, disrespected. That gives them power. But when you laugh at them, not with them, you flip the script. Let me tell you a real example. Back in college, there was this guy who always tried to outshine everyone in class, basically. The king of rudeness. Whenever someone voiced a different opinion, he wouldn't respond with logic but with sarcastic, merciless remarks. At first, I got annoyed and even wanted to argue back to prove he was wrong. But then I realized reacting like that was just pouring fuel on the fire and making things more tense. One day, he snapped at another classmate over an opinion he thought was stupid. Instead of replying harshly, I just laughed and said, "Well, at least they can make us laugh. As for you, if you want to do comedy, I think you need some more practice." That light, yet pointed sarcasm cooled down the atmosphere, leaving him stunned and unable to continue his rude tirade. The classroom vibe suddenly became much lighter, and he gradually stopped playing the tough guy role. Humor, when used right, not only relieves tension but also naturally makes others reflect on their behavior. Now, let me share with you a sharp, surgical way to cut off someone's oxygen, their desperate need for your emotional reaction. They want you to react, to get angry, so they can drain your emotional energy. The best way to stop that? Change the subject unexpectedly right in the middle of their meltdown. It sounds unbelievable, but I'm serious. When they're yelling, complaining, or whining, just look them straight in the eye and say something like, "By the way, have you tried the coffee here? It's actually pretty good today." Instantly, they freeze because you just stole the one thing they were craving, your attention and emotional response. This isn't just dismissal, it's psychological domination. To make it clearer, let me tell you about a time I experienced this. At work, a colleague suddenly started yelling at me in front of the whole team. Completely uncalled for, just because I disagreed with his idea. His face was red, accusing me of being difficult and always causing problems. Guess what I said? I calmly asked, "By the way, how's your son doing? You mentioned he was sick last week." He blinked, confused, and his rant immediately collapsed. In that moment, I wasn't just unbothered, I was in control. This strategy works because it sends a clear message. Your drama isn't important enough for me to even address. And that drives people who thrive on attention absolutely crazy. You might think society teaches us to be respectful and listen even when someone is rude. But when they're yelling, being passive-aggressive, or deliberately provoking you, you don't have to respond. Because when someone screams for a reaction, the worst punishment you can give them is your calm indifference. You don't need to yell, argue, or defend yourself. You just show them they don't have enough power to move you. Switching the topic mid-rant is like the adult version of putting a crying child in a soundproof room. You're not fighting. You're simply done. You don't acknowledge the disrespect. You move on casually and effortlessly. What makes this especially powerful is how thrown off it leaves them. Now they're the only one still mad. And you're calm, which makes them look foolish. Here are a few lines you can keep in your back pocket for when you need them. By the way, have you seen that new show? Netflix? Sure, sounds fun. But seriously, do you want to grab something to eat or not? Wait a sec, I just remembered. I left my charger at your place. And speaking of that, have you ever tried breath work? You know, intentional breathing exercises. It might sound simple, but honestly, it could really help. Sometimes, just one deep breath is enough to bring you back to yourself in the middle of an emotional storm. And if today you're feeling a bit cheeky, a little playful, so what? That doesn't make you rude. It just means you're protecting your peace. You're choosing not to step onto someone else's emotional stage, and let's be honest here, not everyone deserves an audience. So next time someone starts their little drama performance in front of you, don't throw tomatoes, don't cheer, don't even boo, just change the channel. That's the real power move. Here's the truth. Rude people aren't strong. They're just loud. They're insecure. They're emotionally messy and disorganized. And if you don't learn how to handle them with precision and self-control, they'll chip away at your peace, ruin your mood, and dominate your energy without lifting a single finger. But that used to be you. Not anymore. Because now, you've got the tools. You know how to disarm negativity with humor, light, smart, and calm. You know exactly when to walk away without looking weak. You've learned how to flip the script without ever raising your voice. Most importantly, you've mastered this one Stoic principle. You don't have to win every argument. You just have to stop giving clowns your stage. Let them shout. Let them be rude, dramatic, and irrational. Let them act like fools. You stay grounded, unshaken, unavailable for nonsense. Because in a world overflowing with noise, the one who holds their composure, that's the one who actually wins. So next time someone comes at you sideways, trying to get a reaction, don't flinch, don't react, just smile, a calm, Quiet smile, and let them know. Without saying much at all. Greater than, I've outgrown people like you. Game over.